alongside Conrad Van Order. Day after Thanksgiving, so that means we are one day away from the Iron Bowl. We know what this weekend is going to be. In the great slate of college football rivalry week, nothing is bigger than the game that happens tomorrow evening between Auburn and Alabama in another edition of the Iron Bowl. Both teams in kind of two different levels right now. Alabama still keeping their slim college football playoff chances afloat. Auburn, you're just trying to get to a bowl game. You're trying to play spoiler. Nothing more. I mean, who's got the pressure on them? Who has the most pressure? Alabama or Auburn going into this football game? And I'll know it's a final score Friday. So I'm interested to see and hear from everybody what they expect to happen on Saturday between Auburn and Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Final score Friday. You text in, you call in your final scores from not just the Iron Bowl, but some other rivalry games happening this weekend. Of course, Georgia Tech, Florida State, the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I mean, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I mean, anywhere you want to go when it comes to rivalry weekend, your final scores are always welcome. 205-834-9450. I also want to get a pulse of just where do you think this game is going to be? Like, what do you think this game is going to look like tomorrow between Alabama and Auburn? Because we know it's the biggest game here in the state of Alabama, if not college football altogether. But hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. Got a chance to go down to Maplesville, spend some time with some family. It was awesome. We had a great time. Got a chance to see some old friends, old family, and also, Conrad, believe it or not, think your boy might be out the streets, man. Might be. Think it's that time. Think it's that time. Got me one. The bachelor status is no more.
I'm very happy for you, Damien.
Dang, man.
I'm very happy for you. I didn't know we were.
Yeah, hey, I'm just saying, man. It's different. It was
going
different.
down that route. That's good.
It's different.
I'm happy for you.
No, but it's awesome, man. Shout out to my girl Taylor, man. We are. This is a lot different than what it used to be. A lot different. I had a great Thanksgiving. I really did, man. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving as well.
I did. Yeah. No, it's always good to. Paige and I have a lot of family, so we spread out a little bit for the holidays. So we had Thanksgiving yesterday. We got another Thanksgiving this afternoon. We got another one tomorrow. So it's a good time for the holidays. Get to see everybody. Just have to kind of break it up a little bit. But no, it was good. Hope all the listeners out there had a good Thanksgiving as well. And hopefully you're, I don't know, doing your Black Friday shop. I guess people don't go to the stores anymore at midnight. I guess everyone just does everything online. So you're probably not standing in line anywhere right now, but, hopefully you're out there having a good day, getting everything ready for, it's almost like you get an extra pregame for a lot of people that, because I know most people aren't at work today. It's a pregame for the Iron Bowl, right?
Of course.
That's what today is?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If anything, because, it might, still might be a little chilly, so you're probably not putting anything on the grill. If you do, you more power to you. But now it's where do you really stand going into the Iron Bowl? Like, you can have your predictions early on in the week, but one day out, it's okay. How do you expect this game is going to go? Because, we're fresh off of Alabama's performance against Oklahoma, and that's the last time we saw Alabama step on the football field, and it was a lot to be desired. And what we saw from Auburn with Texas A&M last week, it's, okay, well, where has this Auburn team been all season long? Are they peaking at the end, I guess you would say? Are they just peaking at the right time as far as the end of the season? But I do think collectively, on both sides of it, it's hard for me not to look at the total body of work where it looks at, for Alabama. Yeah, they've been inconsistent at times. When they're on, you've seen, the game against LSU. It's like, okay, now how much of that reflection on, on LSU's season at that point in time? But when they've needed to play up to a higher level, they've done it. But they've also taken steps back, and you make the mistakes, you turn the ball over, you end up, just looking bad. And same thing for Auburn. It's the turnovers in key situations, the inconsistency from your quarterback in Peyton Thorne. Your defense has kind of been your calling card for a long time, but when you're out there on the field constantly to play after play, like, offense goes 3 and out, or either they turn the ball over. We've seen both of these teams look the way they've looked all season long, and nothing really just jumps out on it, because when you look at some of the advantages that Alabama's had in certain games, if they didn't turn the ball over, they usually just dominate. Whereas Auburn, it's if they start turning the ball over, they continue to leave the door open for a lot of teams. But I think, they're Jarquez Hunter, going for over 150 yards over 130 yards last week, over 20 carries. You got to put the pressure, not necessarily the pressure, but you have to put the ball in his hands. Peyton Thorne, granted, again, Louisiana Monroe and Texas A&M, he looked pretty good. Did have one mistake last week, but he still went out and played pretty good football. That's what I think the ingredients of this game, it being in Bryant-Denny. My gut is telling me that it should be a close ball game. It should. Because, we had talked about rivalries and say you could throw the record books out the window. This year feels like that's more of the rule and not just the exception. I think that for what we've seen both of these teams in 2024 look like and what they've been able to put on the field, tomorrow is probably going to go down as one of the better Iron Bowls that we've seen in years past. In Bryant-Denny. That's the key. In Bryant-Denny. Because we've seen what it looks like in Jordan-Hare multiple times. It's now in Tuscaloosa. It doesn't feel as though Auburn's going in thinking, it is what it is. But I do think it'll be a good ball game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, my expectation is that, this is going to be a game at least up until the fourth quarter where I don't think it's going to be a game that's necessarily comfortable for either side of it. Probably for the entire 60 minutes, to be completely honest with you. And that's part of just because of the nature of the rivalry and some of the ways that these games have finished over the course of the history of the Iron Bowl. And I think the biggest thing for this game is, we talked about it early in the week, and it makes it so hard to project what you think is going to happen is because I really can't tell you mentally where the Alabama football team is, right? And I think that's such a big part of it because Auburn, we have no question about, right? We know where they are mentally, or at least we seem to know where they are mentally, and they're confident, as they should be after, how the last couple of weeks have gone for them. And looking across at an Alabama team that just had its worst performance in over 15 years probably on the road at Oklahoma. And you smell blood in the water if you're Auburn, and that's exactly how it should be. And so, again, my question, with Alabama just comes back to, all right, is this going to be another, all right, your back's against the wall. You really, you still, like you said, you have, granted, very slim, but you do have a chance of sorts of making the college football playoff still. Is that enough motivation for you? Or did last week just kind of take the wind out of the sails of the entire team? And that's what makes this so hard to figure out. Because, again, I think we all agree Alabama's been the better team over the course of the year, right? They're the more talented team. They were also the better and more talented team last year when you essentially had a Hail Mary to win the game, right? And so that's where, I think you can look at this from so many different ways and make a very compelling argument for both of these teams, right? Alabama's been the better team. All right, Auburn should have beaten them last year with what I would say was a less talented team than they have this year, right? So you can see, well, if the margin was that close last year, well, this would be the year that Auburn gets over the hump, and it very well may be. It's just, I think so much of it comes down to the mental makeup of this Alabama roster, and specifically Jalen Milroe going into the game, because I think we all know, and I'm sure this is a big part of the game plan every week, but probably even more so this week, is I think you'll know within the first 10 to 15 minutes of this game where it's going for Alabama. And because that's kind of how it's been a lot of the season, right? And that doesn't mean we couldn't see something we haven't seen before, because it's just been one of those years. But I think we know at this point, if Alabama gets off to a good start offensively and you get Jalen Milroe some confidence early on, he's able to, just complete some easy passes, move the ball down the field a little bit, preferably if you're able to open up with a score on your opening drive, you're probably going to be in a decent spot offensively if you're Alabama. Now, if you have a turnover early in the game, you have a 3 and out, you have some of those, pre-snap penalties that have been a problem at times this year, and you put yourself in difficult situations. Maybe you have a couple drops like you did last week. When that happens, you can see Jalen Milroe is not the same player, and the offense isn't the same. And so that's where a lot of it ultimately, I think, comes down for Alabama. You get off to a hot start, probably going to be a good day for you. You don't get off to a hot start, probably not going to be a good day for you. So, it's not quite that simple, but I think we know Jalen Milroe is a momentum player right now, and when things are going well, things are really good. When things are not going well, they can get really ugly. And if you're Alabama, again, you look at it like the Oklahoma game of if you just go out there and play your best brand of football, you're going to win the football game, right? But we've seen about half the time this year that product isn't what shows up on the field. So it's I think we're going to learn a lot about Kalen DeBoer this week, and I know a lot of frustrations about how he didn't have the team prepared last week, and that is on him, right? He's the head coach. It doesn't matter. You can go and sit in the press conference afterwards and say, "Well, I thought we, practiced really hard and prepared really well throughout the week, and I don't know what happened out there." Okay, well, obviously you didn't prepare the right way, right? Because no team that prepares well is going to go out there and perform like that, in my opinion. So I think we're going to learn a lot about him and that coaching staff and their ability to either keep these guys focused or let it all go off the rails here at the very end of the season. And we'll see how much these guys want to fight for a chance to go to the playoffs. Still, we're gonna figure it out tomorrow.
And it's the part of the Iron Bowl I think that adds more to it because there's so much at stake right now for both teams, especially for Auburn. You're just fighting to get into a bowl game where it looked absolutely out of the first 10 games of the season. You're thinking, nope, this team right here can't, not going to happen. Then you started to build a little bit of momentum, towards the end of the season. At the end of the season right here, you got a chance to win a game, become bowl eligible, and on a season that you thought was just pretty much washed after the four consecutive losses that you had in the middle part of the season. And for Alabama, it's we still have a puncher's chance of being in the college football playoff. Now, do we had the conversation, do we deserve it? Maybe not, but if the committee's going to put us there, we can only control what we can control, and that's the wins and losses on the football field. So it'll be interesting to see what this Iron Bowl looks like. 205-834-9450. It's Final Score Friday, and we got some coming in. Somebody texts in and says, Bama's going to give Auburn an early Christmas gift and make them bowl eligible. Auburn wins 27-21. Mike Lou texts in. He says, Auburn 24, Alabama 20. Texas A&M 31, Texas 24. He's got Tennessee over Vandy 38-21. Simple as that. What do you think the final score is going to be? And I'm interested to see what these Iron Bowl scores are going to look like because now again, last two games, Auburn's riding high. Last two games for Alabama, well, three games technically. You saw the peak, and then you saw the absolute bottom fall out there at the end. So we want to hear from you as well. 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls as we continue on the rivalry week edition of Morning JOX here the day before the Iron Bowl. Keep it locked on JOX 94.5. Do you think we hear this song in Bryant-Denny at any point tomorrow? Or like
No.
is Dixieland Delight gonna be the real version?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to hear this at all.
You don't think so?
No, I do not.
I'm interested to see,
I
man.
do not.
It's Iron Bowl. We are one day away from the Iron Bowl, the biggest rivalry in college football. You can argue with your mama about that. It is the greatest rivalry in college football. Auburn, Alabama. Welcome back into Morning JOX. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and you as well on this Final Score Friday, 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls are always welcome. And I think that when we look at what this game just means and how, I mean, Conrad, you are a University of Alabama alumni. You also are kind of at the peak of the success of, what we've seen, the dynasty of Alabama. What's kind of some of your memories from Iron Bowls that you've gotten a chance to see and be a part of, and just what's it like during Iron Bowl week as a student at the University of Alabama?
Well, it was one interesting part of it, I guess, is my last 2 years. Believe it or not, one of my roommates was an Auburn fan, and he had wanted to go to Auburn, and he ended up at Alabama because that's where his friends were, and so he ended up with us at Alabama. And it was funny because there were a lot of, there were a lot of game days throughout the year where, he might go to an Alabama game, but there were some where he would just kind of tap out and be like, I'll hang out here, especially, if Auburn and Alabama ever played at the same time or something, be like, I'll hang here and watch the game. And, that was always just kind of a funny, I don't know. I was like, man, you must be miserable coming to school here and being an Auburn fan. And, he didn't really publicize it or anything like that. But then you would have Iron Bowl week and it would be just nonstop, just trash talk the whole time. And, I think anybody that, I would bet most people that go to SEC schools, it, you do not walk on campus with anything that represents any sort of another school whatsoever. And, especially during Iron Bowl week, just, because it is an in-state rivalry and you have so many people that either maybe you grew up an Auburn fan and then you went to Alabama, and, there were plenty of people like that who are like, well, I guess I'm an Alabama fan now and stuff and things like that. But I mean, just the buzz of, I don't know, it has a different feel. When you have a team like an LSU maybe come into town from Baton Rouge, like it's almost like I don't know, you're almost like preparing for battle, I feel like, when you're going to those kinds of game days. And with Auburn, it's more of it's like a family thing. And maybe it's also because it's just right around Thanksgiving. And so it's like almost like this family reunion, but it's like the family that you don't care for and you don't really want to see them or talk to them, but you kind of have to. And it just, that would probably be the best way I could describe the feeling around the game in general. But I mean, during my time there, I mean, the most satisfying, well, not the most satisfying because we lost the game, but 2017 will always hold a special place in my heart, just because when you can lose the Iron Bowl to your rival and then still go and win a national championship afterwards, that is just so sweet. There's something just so satisfying about that. Because of course, then you have we were really better than you because we beat you. And it's like, well, unfortunately, that's just not how the system works sometimes in college football. So, you have the good of, seasons like that. Then of course, you had the bad of, I guess this was right after I graduated, but 2019, where, you probably had another chance to go to the playoff, and then, Tua gets hurt and Mac Jones comes in, and the way that whole game, played out. Honestly, the best, the biggest memory I have of the last Iron Bowl I went to in 2018, before I graduated, was that was the year that we got the Texas A&M and LSU like 7 overtime game.
Oh yeah.
And it was the same night as the Iron Bowl. And I remember, I went to the Iron Bowl. Alabama won that year, and it was not, a crazy competitive game or anything like that. But I just remember going back and everybody was talking about the LSU Texas A&M game. It's like, dude, we got to get out of the stadium and go somewhere and watch this game. Like, and it's just it's a great week, and it is. I know we say with every rivalry game, you throw the record out the window. It doesn't matter. Like, anything can happen in these rivalry games. That's not really true for a lot of rivalries, but I feel like the Iron Bowl is truly one of the select few that you can say that about, where you could have a 1-10 Alabama versus an 11-0 Auburn, and I really don't think that would have an impact on the game, right? Because it just crazy stuff just always happens, regardless of how good one team has been to that point in the season or how bad one team has been up to that point in the season. It just kind of it all goes away, right? And that's just part of what makes it truly so special. And to have this year, I understand some people are disappointed because, Alabama, you're not technically playing just to get into the playoff. You would need some things to happen at this point. Auburn, you're playing for bowl eligibility, but I think it's, a lot of people look back and go, man, this season just hasn't been what we thought it would be. But when I look at the actual game that's being played, this is the most uncertain I think I've been about an Iron Bowl in a while, just in terms of, I don't think anybody predicted a few years ago that you were going to have a 10-10 game that went into overtime with TJ Finley down there, leading Auburn to almost beat Bryce Young in Alabama. I don't think anybody predicted the way that the game went last year, right? But this game is just so uncertain because going into those years, you thought, oh man, Alabama's going to handle this thing no problem. And then it ended up being a completely different game. And I think this year it's truly, based on what we've seen from both Alabama and Auburn this year, look at what Auburn did last year. Could you see Auburn going up 14 or 21 to nothing early on in this game? I don't think it's likely, but I could see it happening. Just like I could see Alabama getting off to a big start like they did against Georgia or LSU. And then I could also see it being, a game that truly comes down to whoever has the ball last is going to have a chance to win the game. So I think that's what makes it so exciting. I understand there's maybe not the implications of the game are not as big as they have been in the past, but it's a special game, man. And I know we love the trash talk. I love going back and forth with the Alabama fans and the Auburn fans. It just makes it the best time because it really doesn't matter. Regardless of what the teams had accomplished up to this point, we're still going to have people calling in and texting in and talking their smack. And that's what it's about, I love that part of it, personally.
And I like the way you said it. It's the family you don't really mess with. You kind of just see them. You see them once a year, and you're going to see them, Thanksgiving
and
week.
you're able to mentally prepare yourself of all right, here we go. We got to go do it. But then I will say, there's a lot of times where you walk away and you're like, that was more pleasant than I thought it would be.
And I remember that 2018 Iron Bowl too. I was there at that game as well because I remember Jalen Waddle catching that drag route. And I've never seen, outside of Tyreek Hill, I've never seen a human not lose any speed and outrun everybody. Jalen Hurts had one pass, and the one pass he threw was to Jalen Waddle, and he catches it, runs down the sideline, and you're kind of watching okay, somebody's going to get the angle. Somebody's going to nobody's catching him as he's running. Never broke stride, kept it running. It looked like somebody running a 200-meter where they're coming around the curve, and once he straightened it out, he is the fastest person on the football field right now. And I think that, when we look at this rivalry and just how the history goes between these two teams, it's just deep. It's deeper. And for anybody that's, has never experienced an Iron Bowl, it's fun on both sides of it. Even in Tuscaloosa, it's fun. When it's in Jordan-Hare, it's always a good time. But I think that this year, unlike any other, you kind of really just don't know what to expect because when you look at college football as a whole this season, you just look at everything. We saw Vanderbilt beat Alabama early on in the season. Didn't see that one coming. And then we look at, Arkansas knocking off Tennessee. You see Auburn knocking off Texas A&M last week. It's both of these teams are figuring each other out. They're figuring exactly what their identity is. And I'm just excited to see what this game looks like. But kind of just looking at everything as far as the SEC rivalries go. We start off today with the Egg Bowl. Again, the Egg Bowl not being on Thanksgiving Day kind of throws everything off, which the NFL.
I know. I liked it on Thursday night.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it on Thanksgiving. And the NFL kind of left a lot to be desired. I think, Chicago, Detroit, good game to start off at 11. Giants and Cowboys.
I guess it was kind of close, but it's not enjoyable to watch. And then Tua did everything he could, man.
He did. The Miami Dolphins, when they play anything, if they play anywhere outside of Miami, and they have to go north in the months of, November and December, it's just not the same team. It's not the same team.
Oh, no, it's good. All the talk about, man, if these SEC schools have to go up and play, a Penn State or an Indiana in the playoff on the road, it's going to be tough for them. And, I think maybe that's a little overblown, but then you look and see what teams from the state of Florida can go and do in cold weather. It's just they're not used to it.
At all. At all. But Ole Miss and Mississippi State at 2:30 on ABC. Ole Miss right now in Oxford, a 26-point favorite over Jeff Levy and those boys from Mississippi State. And I know Mississippi State is having a rough go at it. A lot of changes, a lot of unforeseen circumstances
That's such
that
a big
led to
line
this.
for a rivalry game.
It's insane to think about. We've seen crazier egg bowls. We have seen some crazy egg bowls over our lifetimes. And I get it that Ole Miss is the better team, but also
Mississippi State's been
competitive. Right. It's just, again, it's a rivalry. And that's why I love these parts of it, because you have no idea what to expect. Also tonight at 6:30 on ABC as well, clean old-fashioned hate, Georgia and Georgia Tech. Georgia right now an 18.5-point favorite. That game in Athens. It's in
it is.
About to say it's in Athens.
If it was in Atlanta, it'd be a little more interesting.
Right.
But again, this is a Georgia team that, last week they let UMass run all over them, and Georgia Tech's good at running the football, so it could be interesting. I think that'll be a pretty competitive game. I think Georgia's going to handle their business, but I think it should be a good entertainment tonight.
Exactly, because the way Georgia Tech has played all season long, they're almost back to their triple option days of just maintaining ball control. They don't mind an 8-9 minute drive if they need to. I'm interested to see if Haynes King is going to be able to play if he's 100%. I think he's kind of found his niche there at Georgia Tech. And just also looking at tomorrow's slate of games in rivalry week, Tennessee and Vanderbilt starting up at 11 o'clock on ABC. Also at 11, Clemson, South Carolina, Louisville, Kentucky. That game on the SEC network. Louisville only a 4-point favorite in that game.
Well, Kentucky kind of owns Louisville in that rivalry, so
one of a few teams that Mark Stoops can beat. Of course, the Iron Bowl at 2:30, Auburn and Alabama. Alabama right now 11.5-point favorite. Arkansas and Missouri. Missouri a 3-point favorite at home over the Razorbacks. Florida and Florida State. Florida a 16.5-point favorite over Florida State. And something tells me, and it could be just the way Billy Napier carries himself. If he has a chance to kind of really
rub it in and stick it to him a little bit, yeah.
And I don't think he'll be classy about it. I think he'll have kind of like almost like a Joker-like smile on the sideline of, if we do put it all together, you see what we can really look like. And also, again, it's a Florida State. I'm interested to see how that game goes. Of course, Oklahoma and LSU, a little bit of a different SEC, I guess you would say in quotation marks. Could be a rivalry, something that if we get a chance to see it at the end of the season. Right now, LSU a 6-point favorite at home in Baton Rouge. And then we get the SEC version of a rivalry that was discontinued once Texas A&M hit the SEC, but between Texas and Texas A&M. That game at 6:30 tomorrow from College Station. Right now, Texas a 5.5-point favorite.
So how interested are you? Because it's just crazy that we didn't even mention this game, but like, how interested are you in Ohio State and Michigan
this year? Not as much,
because I feel like I think, again, most of us would agree here probably after the Iron Bowl, that's the best rivalry in college football. It's the one that gets the most national attention, obviously, even outside of the Iron Bowl. But I don't know. For some reason, I feel like that game is going to be more interesting than people think. And I think it's mainly because of what Michigan can do defensively. I think that could lead it to being maybe more of a competitive game than some might think. But yeah, I don't know. I just, again, with Ohio State, I was impressed with what they did against Indiana. But again, it's like, there's been some times where you've seen some cracks this year. And I just wonder how interested people are if they're giving Michigan any shred of hope in that game. Because again, we're just so used to that being such a big game these last few years. It's essentially been what the Iron Bowl was, in the 2010s, right? Where it felt like every year whoever won that game was going to the college football playoff and competing for a national championship. So it's just kind of different that, we're not even, it's like, I'll have that on like the third TV or something like
right.
that.
If Ohio State plays like they need to, or they have at times, it shouldn't be a ball game. But I think for Michigan, you're kind of in that same boat with Auburn of, can you just play spoiler for everything? Just absolutely wreck Ohio State's dreams. Not to say they probably still would make a college football playoff, but it would be it would add another layer to that rivalry because again, it's one of the I agree with you. Outside of the Iron Bowl, when you look at just what a game means and how deep it is and the history that comes with it, Ohio State and Michigan is one of the best rivalries. But also, I to your point too, it's kind of
Ryan Day might get fired on the spot if they lose. Can you imagine that?
right, because
4 years in a row.
It's and then you wouldn't have any excuse either. It's Jim Harbaugh ain't there anymore. You're going against your own more.
Oh yeah, that'd be all mental.
Yeah, you have every piece that you need in order to make this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this game is like 10-10 going into halftime, and I'm like, well,
yeah,
kind of
exactly,
kind of figured, and then get a final score of 24-14. It's we kind of expected that one to happen, but I'm interested to see how these games go. 205-834-9450, your text message, your calls as we continue on a rivalry week edition of Morning JOX. Keep it locked right here on JOX 94.5.
Welcome back into Morning JOX. 6:37 here on your Friday morning. Gonna hear that one tomorrow if you're going down to Bryant-Denny for the Iron Bowl. 2:30 kickoff tomorrow as the Auburn Tigers travel down to Bryant-Denny Stadium there in Tuscaloosa to take on the Tide in the Iron Bowl, and we are going to get your score predictions here in just a minute, 205-834-9450. But quickly, I did want to go back and briefly mention two things. One, going back to Wednesday, hats off to both Alabama and Auburn on the hardwood as Auburn took down Memphis there in the Maui Invitational Championship game. 14-point win for them. Janai Broom, 21 points, 16 rebounds. An absolutely incredible week for Auburn basketball. And when the AP poll comes out next week, I strongly advise people to vote Auburn number one because they have been absolutely incredible. The competition level that they've faced up to this point, and they've gone out there and done nothing but handled their business. So another incredible performance from Auburn. They are undefeated on the season as they won the Maui Invitational over Memphis on Wednesday. And then Alabama taking down Rutgers in a close game that defensively, not the best effort from Alabama. Turnovers, a big problem for Alabama as well. But ultimately, they were able to hold on for the win. They will now play coming up on Saturday there in Las Vegas. They will be playing in the championship game of the NIL tournament that's going on out there in Las Vegas. They will take on the Oregon Ducks. So some college football playoff matchups, right? We're looking for that. Alabama and Oregon in the college football playoff.
It sounds like something we may see, depending on what happens.
Yeah, well, got to get through this game first if you're an Alabama fan. I think that's something that we've also maybe, not saying that we've overlooked it, but, talking about these scenarios, and I've had some Alabama fans say, what do you think needs to happen for them to get in the playoff? Well, first off, you got to beat Auburn on Saturday.
Yep.
None of this matters if you don't take care of your business tomorrow in the Iron Bowl. And just wanted to tell everybody, if you want to, we will get to it on three-man front, but we have a poll question up since yesterday, actually, asking you how you think the Iron Bowl will go. So you can go to Twitter, go to the number 3-man front on Twitter and vote in that. We have 4 options for you. Alabama wins and covers the 11 points. Auburn upsets Alabama and wins by 1 score or less. Alabama wins a close game, but doesn't cover, or Auburn blows out Alabama. Those are your 4 options. And right now, Alabama winning and covering with 39% of the vote. So some confident Alabama fans out there still. So we'll see how that changes over the course of the day. We'll update you on that throughout the day on 3-man front.
Absolutely. 205-834-9450. Drake, the Florida fan, he says, we cannot go into Florida State game and take them lightly. Don't care what their record says. It's still a rivalry game. Absolutely. And that's the thing about Vegas doesn't take into account the heart of the rivalry thing. They're just looking at they're looking at the dollar signs. They're looking at simulations.
Florida State beat Charleston last week though, so they're good. Like they're cruising right now.
Right. They're hitting their peak. They're hitting their stride.
Yeah, they just needed that second win, so now they're all good. But no, I do agree with that because that is what that would do to the program, just in terms of all the momentum that you've built up to knock off LSU the way you did, to beat Ole Miss, and then to fall flat against Florida State. Still, it would be an impressive season by Billy Napier, in my opinion, but you can't have that one. It's very, honestly, kind of similar to how I view, the Iron Bowl for Alabama, if we're being honest. Like, I know it's only a 1-game difference, but 9-3 and 8-4, I think there's a world of difference in those 2 records for the Alabama fan base. And to lose to an Auburn team that's had a very disappointing season, and that be the way you end it with back-to-back losses and you go 8-4, there's some pride on the line this weekend for some teams.
Absolutely. Let's go to the phone lines. We know this guy's going to be ready for the Iron Bowl tomorrow. That's our buddy Don. What's happening, Don?
Let's go, baby. Let's go. War damn Eagle.
Continue.
You feeling good, Don?
Conrad, first of all, everybody, hope you guys had a great day yesterday. Yes, sir, I do feel good going to this game, and I got a special announcement to make. I'm going to make my TV premiere tomorrow morning.
You going to be on game day?
No, sir, buddy. I'm doing the show called The Starting Lineup on 3340. It comes on at 10:30 in the morning tomorrow.
Okay, very cool, Don.
And I even got to do it, Conrad, buddy. I got to do it with the crazy Bama fan legend too. That was classic.
I can only imagine the 2 of you getting together, Don.
Oh, it's funny, buddy. It's funny, but yeah, I got a good feeling, Conrad and Damien. I do, I really do, and if I had to predict, I think it's going to be a close one, and I got a feeling that. Here's my prediction: Auburn 24-21 with a late Tim Coleman touchdown.
All righty, there we go, Don. Well, enjoy the game tomorrow.
Who's throwing the ball to him?
Peyton Thorne.
Oh, okay.
Peyton Thorne, your favorite quarterback, who's got more touchdowns, not total touchdowns, but has more touchdown passes than Jalen Milroe does. Not total, though.
Congratulations. How many wins does he have?
Well, you're going to get the biggest win.
How many wins does he have?
Let's say, going back from last year, 11.
Like Jalen Milroe had that in 11 games last year.
Yeah, David, I got to combine the 2 years for him, okay?
I got
you. Well, guys, y'all have a good weekend. Everybody enjoy the Iron Bowl, and I will talk to y'all win or lose on Monday.
We got you, brother. No, I do think it'll be a good game, and I know that Perry Thompson made that tweet over the weekend, last week, of just comparing the stats between Jalen Milroe and Peyton Thorne, but they tend to forget football's a team game. Yeah, Peyton Thorne's put up some good numbers, but also he was benched. He was benched during the year. His own fan
fair,
base.
I was calling for Jalen Milroe to get benched last week. So.
Yeah, of course. But I do think that, hey, listen, when it comes to the Iron Bowl, I love it. I love the fact that Auburn fans are back from, wherever the cave they were sleeping in earlier in the year, because I felt that during a period of time they were so set on basketball season they could really care less. But then literally a win against Louisiana Monroe changed everything. Everything.
Well, that's what makes this game so great, right? Is you've had, let's be honest, a very disappointing season for Auburn fans based on the expectations that we all had coming into the season. But, what other sport can you have a team that's had a very disappointing season? They're under 500, and they're going up against a team that's, say what you want, but, a highly ranked team. And the fan base of the team that is under 500 and has disappointed for the majority of the season is gung-ho, like, we're going to whip that ass on Saturday. What other sport do you get that? That's what makes it so special is, again, it doesn't matter what's happened for the last 11 weeks. People are going to come out and they're going to talk they're going to talk their trash. It doesn't matter what the product has looked like. It doesn't matter if you wanted this player gone or that coach gone throughout the course of the season. For this one game, they are the best player, the best coach in the world for your team, and I love that because there is no rationale to it. There's no logic that goes behind it. It is just straight up total fandom, blinders on. This is my team, and I'm gonna rock with them, and I love that.
Me too.
I am not saying that tongue in cheek. That is what makes it so special. Because tell me another sport where you can have a fan base or a team that has been disappointing all year long, regardless of if it's Auburn or Michigan or whoever, and that fan base is going to believe. But for that one Saturday,
that's all that
for
matters.
that one Saturday, you can be the better team.
It goes back to Don's theory to begin the season. It's we could go 0-10, we can go 0-9, but if that one game that we win is Alabama, Auburn fans will be happy. Obviously, we're witnessing it. We're seeing it now. Maybe Don wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. If Alabama messes around and makes the college football playoff, plays for a national championship, but technically they lose. They're not in.
Done.
But they're so excited. Like the team, I'm telling you straight up, and Conrad is my witness. It is when we were going to Social Taco with 3-man front on Tuesdays. Like you could hear the Auburn fans say, "No, I don't feel confident about this game." We were talking about games against Kentucky and Vandy and stuff, and it's like, "Nah, I don't really feel it. I think this season might be done." This week has been completely different. It has been completely different. I'm like, hey, this is what you're feeling, big dog. I ain't mad. I'm not mad at you. I just find it so puzzling how you've had advantages against, the likes of Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Cal, and then boom, the Iron Bowl comes around. It's like, nope, don't care. We are locked in. We're beating Alabama. I'm here for it. I like it.
Well, and then you look on the other side, and you've got, I think, a large portion of the Alabama fan base that's like, oh yeah, we're gonna lose. We suck now. And it's just, it's funny how these kinds of games, what they what they can do to you mentally as a fan, regardless of which side of things you ultimately are on. But that's what makes this so fun, and that's part of what makes it so special to get to do radio here in the city of Birmingham, just because the fans are so passionate on both sides of it. And we really are so blessed because there are a lot of great rivalries in college football, but to be in the position that we are in, to have the fans on both sides all around us here in the state, they get to listen to Jocks and get to chime in and interact with us. That's not something you get very many places, and it's what makes this week so much fun, man. Even as frustrated as I might have been on Monday, getting here to Friday, it's it's awesome, man. It is unparalleled. This is the best week of this year. Regardless, it doesn't matter. It's just it has a different energy, and I love hearing from everybody, both sides of the coin, and you know, we see where the cards may fall tomorrow,
We
and
shall.
who's happy on Monday.
We shall. Danny from Coleman, he takes in. He said, it's official. Don has a feeling. Money in the bank. Bama covers. 205-834-9450. Your text message calls always welcome. But when we return here on Morning Jocks, we got to make some picks. Who do we think is going to win the Iron Bowl? Me and Conrad will discuss. Keep it locked right here on Morning Jocks and Jocks 94.5. 6:52 here on Morning JOX. JOX 94.5. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order here with you for a few more moments as we get you set for McElroy and Kublik in the morning. G-Mac will be on the call of the Iron Bowl, so unfortunately, he won't be able to make a pick. Very professional. He's professional. You won't know which way he leans. Of course, in his heart, of course, he'd be happy that Alabama wins, but he also has to, he's got a job to do.
I just thought it was funny because, I saw people on Twitter of like, oh, wow, what a coincidence. Greg McElroy is calling the Iron Bowl this year. I wonder what the TV networks want to happen. And I saw people going, well, surely they've got Cole on the broadcast as well. And it's just, that's not how it works.
That's not how it goes.
It's not how it works. I mean, yeah, in an ideal world, would that be cool? Yeah, it would be cool. But that's not how it works. And I promise you that the fix is not in for the Iron Bowl based on who is calling the game or not calling the game. I just
right.
But
like G-Mac
it's rivalry week. People are gonna look for anything.
That's what I'm saying. G-Mac called the third Saturday in October. Tennessee won the ball game. Like,
yep.
It's not.
I was about to say, if anything, if you're an Auburn fan, that kind of maybe makes you feel better about the game. I don't know.
Because the last time I saw Greg McElroy in Tuscaloosa for an Iron Bowl.
Yeah, that was the last time.
Yeah.
The last time it happened.
Yeah.
Well, there's one player in particular who's not walking through that door tomorrow.
But they said Peyton Thorne is just another version of Cam Newton, isn't that right? He's a dynamic runner. And
I hope nobody's ever said that.
Ronnie from Birmingham said Damian was wrong last week about Auburn versus Texas A&M, and he's wrong this week. Auburn 28-24. I ain't even made a pick yet. How can I be wrong? He don't even know where I'm going with it. Well, let's get to it. It's the Iron Bowl. It's the most important game in college football because it's the best rivalry game. Alabama 11.5-point favorite, over under set at 52.5. I'm going to go ahead and let you know right now. I think Alabama wins the ball game. I do. I do. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be competitive. I think it's one of those late covers in the end. I think Alabama wins 31-21.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really close game, to be completely honest with you. I think if you are looking at this game from a wagering perspective, I would definitely take Auburn in the points. I can't trust Alabama right now to go out there and win by double digits. They very well may do that. I do think they win the game. I'm going to go Alabama 27-21. I think it's a close game, and I do not think that Alabama fans will be comfortable until the very end.
And that's what I meant. I think Auburn covers, but I do think Alabama wins the football game. It's going to be great, nonetheless. It's the Iron Bowl. Lock in. McElroy and Kublik in the morning. They're next.